following individuals are invested today as distinguished members of the Transportation Corps Regiment: Brigadier General H.A. Curry, Brigadier General Michael B. Barrett, Brigadier General Joseph J. Joyce, Brigadier General Carlos D. Pear, Brigadier General Kenneth L. Pentilla, Mr. James S. Coons, Colonel Retired Peter L. Asimakopoulos, Colonel Retired James J. Sella, Colonel Retired James R. Chalkley, Colonel Retired Lawrence M. Curtin, Colonel Retired Stephen L. Etzel, Colonel Retired Ralph W. Fennis, Colonel Retired David G. Halm, Colonel Retired John D. Kenny, Colonel Retired Robert F. Kenny, Jr., Colonel Retired Philip I. Klein, Colonel Retired Donald W. Lamb, Colonel Retired Joel L. McGrady, Colonel Retired Charles A. Sealand, Colonel Retired Richard N. Strand, Colonel Retired James P. Tatum, Colonel Retired Leslie H. Weinstein, Mrs. Nancy H. O'Day, Lieutenant Colonel Retired Rebecca H. Camprano, Lieutenant Colonel Retired Michael A. Hughes, Lieutenant Colonel Retired Edgar A. McCarthy, Lieutenant Colonel Retired Edward Mashinsky, Lieutenant Colonel Retired Thomas W. Moritz, Lieutenant Colonel Retired Teddy L. Patton, Lieutenant Colonel Retired Durwood M. Rushforth, Lieutenant Colonel Retired Joseph A. Spate, Major Retired Natalia E. Armstrong, Major Joseph H. Eisenberg, Major Retired Michael E. Mamer, Chief Warrant Officer 5 Thomas W. Ferguson, Chief Warrant Officer 5 Kenneth E. Gilman, Chief Warrant Officer 5 Nicholas E. Indra, Chief Warrant Officer 5 Michael J. Spiro, Chief Warrant Officer 5 Robert P. Newton, Jr., Chief Warrant Officer 5 Robert D. Young, Chief Warrant Officer 5 Retired William K. Thomas, Chief Warrant Officer 4 Retired Kenneth M. Wallman, Command Sergeant Major James A. Kirtland, Command Sergeant Major Stephen S. Rasky, Command Sergeant Major Howard V. Rathman, Command Sergeant Major Donald L. Shepard, Command Sergeant Major Leon Caffey, Command Sergeant Major Retired Joe E. Moore, Command Sergeant Major Retired Harold G. Smith, Sergeant Major Retired Edward G. Clark, First Sergeant Retired James R. Edwards Sr., First Sergeant Retired Willie L. Edwards, Master Sergeant Retired Carl D. Oswald, Sergeant First Class Retired Joseph P. Bruler, Sergeant First Class Retired Bobby J. Nash. By direction of the Chief of Transportation, these individuals are hereby invested as distinguished members of the Transportation Corps Regiment. Ladies and gentlemen, the Chief of Transportation, Brigadier General William E. Mortensen.
General Mrs. Tuttle, Lieutenant General Mrs. Thompson, Lieutenant General Mrs. Bruin, Lieutenant General Mrs. Fuson, Lieutenant General Mrs. DeHaven, Lieutenant General Mrs. Thompson, Lieutenant General Honor, Lieutenant General Russo, fellow general officers, members of the Senior Executive Service, Command Sergeants Major, distinguished guests, friends of the regiment, ladies and gentlemen, welcome, and thank you for joining us today to celebrate the anniversary of our TC Corps. It's fitting for me to begin by thanking the many people who helped support us today. The Continental Army Band, you always sound terrific. The All-American Free Fall Team, who demonstrated their expertise as soldiers. Your performance was always spectacular. To the soldiers on and off the field today, Mr. Weston, the voice of transportation, and to all our transporters for sharing in our celebration this week, thanks for coming. I want to take just a few moments to talk to you about these great soldiers standing before us. These soldiers are not in the Army, they are the Army. They are representative of our nation. They deploy on a moment's notice. They perform superbly day or night, rain or shine, in the winter, or like today, in summer's heat. They range in experience from private to command sergeant major, second lieutenant to colonel. They have nothing in common except a common cause and purpose to serve our Army and our Transportation Corps. I must also say that it's certainly nice to be able to talk about them without the rain dripping down my back like my last ceremony here on Murphy Field. However, on second thought, a nice rain would be welcome, I think, by the soldiers on the field. I'll try to be quick, I promise. As we celebrate the 57th anniversary of our TC Corps, we must always remember those who went before us, like Major General Charles P. Gross, who served as the first Chief of Transportation, or Major General Edmund Levy, who resisted all efforts to deactivate the TC Corps and laid the groundwork for the permanent establishment of the TC Corps at Fort Eustis, or Major General George Stewart, who was the first post commander of Eustis, made the installation the home of transportation. Non-commissioned officers and soldiers also had a tremendous impact on our Corps as well. Sergeant William Say, awarded the Medal of Honor for his bravery on a gun truck in Vietnam. Specialist Larry Dahl, awarded the Medal of Honor for selflessly throwing himself on a grenade in his gun truck. These young soldiers made the ultimate sacrifice for their fellow soldiers. Our TC print this year exemplifies the great sacrifice of the Vietnam soldier. There are many today who also work tirelessly for our Corps. Lieutenant General Bruin, our Honorary Colonel, the outgoing Honorary Warrant Officer, Mr. Gentry, our new Honorary Warrant Officer, Mr. Wallman, and our Honorary Sergeant Major of the Regiment, Command Sergeant Major Henry Johnson. We certainly appreciate all you do for our Corps. My congratulations to the future military and civilian leaders of our regiment. Regimental Officers of the Year, Captain Powers and Lieutenant Drexler. Regimental Non-Commissioned Officers of the Year, Sergeant Morgan, Sergeant Allen, and a Regimental Civilian of the Year, Mr. Ruiz. Your selections are well deserved. Congratulations again. Lastly, but certainly not least, I'd also like to offer my personal congratulations to all of the 1999 distinguished members of the regiment, many of whom are my personal friends, all who have truly earned our thanks for what you've done for the Corps. The best transporters we know in one spot, thank you. I want to close by saying it's truly an honor to serve today as your Chief of Transportation, and I look forward to the coming year. Remember, nothing happens until something moves.
Weeks. We extend an invitation to Lieutenant General Bruin, Chief Warrant Officer for Wallman, Command Sergeant Major Johnson, and Command Sergeant Major Shepard to please move to the reviewing mound as we proudly pass in review. Transportation Center, Fort Eustis, Virginia. The salute battery for today's ceremony is for the 7th Transportation Group,